was a dame in love with a guy. She stuck to him, didn't know why. Everyone blamed her, still they all named her True Blue Lou. He gave her nothing, she gave him all. But when he had his back to the wall, who thought to save him smiled and forgave him. True Blue Lou. He got a break and went away to get a new start. She never got a break except the one right down in her head. Maybe somewhere in heaven above, there's a reward for that kind of love. The angels will climb her, and they too will name her True Blue Lou. Got a break and went away to get a new start. She never got a break except the one in her heart. Maybe somewhere in heaven above, there's a reward for that kind of love. Angels will climb her, and they too will name her True Blue Lou. True Blue Lou. I first heard it with Robert Crumb and the Cheap Suit Serenaders. But if you go onto YouTube, you can hear Ethel Waters sing it, and you should. And she knows the opening verse, which I don't know. I might learn it. I don't know. Hello, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome. Welcome to show 130. Yep, 130. That's a lot of shows. We're finally done with those 120s. Done with those. Those are gone now. Now we're into the 30s. We're into a whole new decade. But thank you so much for coming, or not leaving, I should say. because you may have been sitting there for a long time. Aside from welcoming you and wishing you well, it's still summer. Perhaps it's even still summer when you're watching this. And on the other hand, you're from the future. It's hard to say exactly when you are from. You could be from 100 years away. I don't know. Will YouTube survive for 100 years? There's probably a better chance of YouTube surviving than there is some of the coastal cities. Took him to my house and sat him down at my table. Gave him all the food that I was able. He ate my chicken and he drank my tea. And then I tried to steal my girl from me. Now do you call that a buddy? Could that be your buddy? I might shoot my buddy, 'cause he's just a dirty kid. Sits at my table, but he ain't my friend. Thinks it's his job to drink all my gin. And when he's drunk, all too soon, he asks my girl to meet him at the door to spoon. Do you call that a buddy? Oh, could that be your buddy? I might shoot my buddy, 'cause he is just a dirty kid. If I had 15 cents, I would loan him a dime. I thought he was a friend of mine. If I had a Dunkin' Donuts stand his soul, I wouldn't give him a donut hole. Now do you call that a buddy? Could that be your buddy? I might shoot my buddy, 'cause he's just a dirty cat. Because He's just a dirty cat. Do you call that a buddy? You want to hear the original one? You go to YouTube and look up Louis Armstrong doing it. I heard it from Martin Bogan and Armstrong. A different Armstrong. But that's Wild Song. It's even wilder by Louis, I should say. Yes, it is. I will read you some of a story I wrote long ago. It's about 1978 when I was a doorman on Central Park West. It's called The Glamour of Servitude. And you'll only hear some of it today. Spring 1978. I was working at a Dannon frozen yogurt shop on the edge of the Fashion District in Midtown Manhattan. My friend and co-worker, Frank, had gotten me the job. We served customers at the counter and delivered orders on foot within a 5-block radius. I'll always remember scraping raisins off the floor behind the counter at the end of the day. Deliveries were interesting. After 5 or 6 30-story high-speed elevators in a row, our knees would buckle as we stepped off a curb. We'd wobble all the way back to the shop. As spring turned into summer, Frank heard from his girlfriend about a job opening up on Central Park West. Her friend Jack had become the superintendent of a luxury apartment co-op on the corner of 65th Street and Central Park West. All the workers at Jack's building took 2-week summer vacations, and Jack needed to fill shifts for 2 jobs, doorman and porter. It was $5 an hour, more than we were making at the yogurt shop, so Frank took the job. A week later, he called me one evening to say that he had too many shifts to cover. They needed another man. I went up there. Jack had suddenly become ill 2 weeks before and was in the hospital weighing about 90 pounds. He had stumbled into a pothole while jogging in Central Park, and that jolt was the catalyst for a nearly complete physical breakdown from which he was now recovering. I visited him in the hospital for my job interview. He was lying in a private room, pale and bony. He asked me about myself, and I told him. We looked at each other. He was peaceful. He told me of an experience he'd had there in his hospital bed. His soul had floated out of his body. He had looked down at his body from up near the ceiling. He had realized that if he didn't get back down in his body, he would die. He came down and got back in. He must have thought I was okay. I got the job. I first reported to work at midnight on a weekday to work as the doorman until the relief man showed up at 8:00 a.m. To become a doorman, I'd go down to the basement locker room by the stairs at the farthest corner of the lobby and change into my charcoal gray doorman's uniform. The former employee for whom it had been ordered from the uniform company had a much bigger body. I'd put it on anyway, roll up the cuffs, and go upstairs. The man on duty would gather his things and go down to change into his street clothes. 5 minutes later, when he walked past me on his way out the front door, he'd look like a whole other neighborhood. The doorman's post in the main lobby was the communication center for the building. Aside from letting people in and out, one had to sort the mail, keep track of packages delivered, give and receive messages, operate the intercom and the elevators, answer the phone, and give directions, and eat lunch. Big changes were taking place in the building that year. When I started there, I was only one of a half-dozen people striving to master the newly installed intercom and elevator system. Soon after, the rest of the lobby was remodeled by an interior design firm whose two partners happened to live together upstairs. As part of the deal, they took for their office one of the two doctors' offices at the far end of the lobby corridor. And for the long months of reconstruction, these two young, well-dressed, and over-mannered go-getters were often seen and heard. The new lobby seemed to take forever. New carpet, new railings, new paint, new lighting, new pictures, new furniture. When all was done, a cool and briskly modern atmosphere replaced the worn charms of the old. Security had been improved by placing the up controls of the elevator in the hands of the doorman. The buttons in the elevators would only work going down. If a person should walk in the front door, past the doorman, down the corridor and into the elevator, that elevator wouldn't move without the doorman's help. This happened about once in my year there. The doorman could see into both elevators through TV cameras mounted in their ceilings, and he could hear through microphones mounted next to those cameras. He could speak to the passengers too. In front of him, enveloped by and incorporated into a brushed bronze control panel, were two TV screens, a speaker, and a microphone. Theoretically, the doorman might spy and eavesdrop. Actually, the motor noise and inferior sound equipment made voices close to unintelligible, and the fish-eye lenses mounted high above gave only fuzzy representations of a person's appearance or movements. On the rare occasion that a passenger did have to speak to the doorman through this device, everything said would have to be repeated very clearly several times, leading invariably to infuriation and humiliation, respectively. The control board also contained a phone and intercom. The building has 60 apartments, each, of course, named with a number and letter combination. The intercom buttons were labeled with 60 entirely different number and letter combinations. Many apartments were occupied by couples and families, so there were over 60 faces and names. As a good doorman, I was expected to memorize all sets of details as soon as possible. One set had highest priority: the number of the floor each person lived on. Every resident wanted to come in the door, nod to the doorman, keep walking down the corridor to the elevator, get in, and be sent right up to their floor. About 10 seconds after they walked past me, they'd be in there waiting. Sometimes I'd spend those seconds madly paging through the master list, a spiral-bound book kept in a clear plastic binder on the shelf below the intercom. Of course, it had no pictures of the residents, only names and numbers. At first, I didn't know anyone and had to ask them all what floor they lived on. After a while, I got to know some of the floor numbers, but at times I was apparently expected to have learned them all. One elderly and distinguished gentleman, after once being sent to the wrong floor and then having to converse with me over the elevator sound system, stopped to carefully and solemnly tell me his floor number every day for the entire next year. That poor old guy, every time he came in and he saw it was me, say you love me, darling. Please call me on the phone sometime. You say you love me, darling. Please call me on the phone sometime. When I hear your voice, you know it is my word, mind. One of these days, I'm gonna show you just how nice a man can be. I'm gonna show you just how nice a man can be. Buy you a brand new Cadillac if you'll only say some kind words about me. Telephone keep ringing, sound like a long distance call. Telephone keep ringing, sound like a long distance call. Picked up the receiver. Party said there's another mule kicking in your stall. Muddy Waters, Willie Dixon, I believe. Well, folks, it's been nice doing show number 130 for you. Come back next week when we get into the 30s with 131. Yes, I may even have another person here. I'm not sure what his schedule is, but he really wants to play. He's a harmonica player. Michael, his name is. I don't know yet if he likes to be called Mike, but I'll find out. Until then, may you all have terrific luck. May you grab that golden ring. I don't mean steal somebody's jewelry. I mean, you know, like on the merry-go-round. I guess it's an archaic term. Okay, now, bye. Well, I'm ready, and I'm willing, and I'm able to rock and roll all night. Yes, I'm ready, and I'm willing, and I'm able to rock and roll all night. Come on now, pretty baby, we're gonna rock, we're gonna roll until tomorrow night, because I'm ready, and I'm willing. Willing and I'm able, so you better come along with me. We're gonna rock and roll till the morning light breaks. Talking on the phone is not my speed. Don't send me no letters, 'cause I can't read. It won't be long till I'll be gone. But we're gonna rock and roll now all night long, because I'm ready, and I'm ready, ready and I'm able, so you better come along with me. We're gonna rock and roll until the morning light breaks. Talking on the phone is not my speed. Don't send me no letters, 'cause I can't read. It won't be long till I'll be gone. But we gon' rock and roll now all night long, because I'm ready, and I'm willing, willing and I'm able, so you better come along with me. We're gonna rock and roll until our morning light breaks. We're gonna rock and roll till the morning light breaks. Thank you. Fats Domino. Probably Dave Bartholomew. Other camera.